So you can take these home with you for $5.99. They're down at A1A on the entrance to the freeway, if you're interested. But what we really want to take home with us is this. This experience that we've had here has been just fantastic. Just this spirit, doing this, I love that. That was one of the best things I saw while I was here. So how do we bring this home? And why am I the guy to talk to you about it? I started Maker Garage at where I work back in 2011. The initial intent that I had was just to get together with other hardware hackers after work because I didn't want to go all the way into the city. Wanted to stay closer. It just seemed quicker to just meet some people for a little bit and then get home. You know, it also seemed like there were a lot of people where I work who were really smart, and I'd like to talk to them about what they're doing. And, you know, the thing is that my background is a lot like everybody here. I'm a software guy. You know, I didn't use power tools. I'd been interested in electronics and hardware, but I'd never really been able to get anything to stick. And then something changed. Back in 2009, this guy, my son, started to get into electronics, and we have snap circuits to thank for that. He, you know, really started to get interested in it. And I started looking at online resources to help him and do stuff. And we started to make little projects together. And for his 9th birthday, I bought him an Adafruit kit for the Dradio. And we actually assembled it. And it worked. I couldn't believe it. It worked. It was the first thing I'd ever soldered that worked with that $10 Radio Shack soldering iron that you shouldn't ever use. But it worked. And so it was like, wow, all right, let's keep doing this. Let's do more. And so we did. That was my workshop for a while. We moved off of the kitchen table and got a piece of plywood and shoved it in an extra room. Bought an actual nice soldering iron, which really helped other projects succeed. We kept doing stuff. We went down to a local space called Metrics, where my son bought his mother a Valentine's Day present, which was the little heart-shaped box on Thingiverse. And so that was fantastic, you know, to actually get to see a 3D printer, you know, for the first time. And I actually made that. I was very, very proud of that. My wife loves that. That's the internet, if you're not familiar with it. It's wireless. Lovely, lovely device. But so, you know, I then started to discover other things like Music from Outer Space, which is a fantastic website if you like synthesizers. Lots of boards, easy to work with, you know, just fantastic. And I'd always wanted to build a synthesizer. You know, I had books, I think, in the early 90s on how to do this, but it was just, I felt like I needed to go back to college, you know? And so, but now here's this website and all these resources I can follow along, and so I'm getting more into this. I built a weird sound generator, which my son loved. His sister, not so much. But, you know, then in 2011, a couple of new guys joined my team, and they were makers. And we started talking, and I had never actually had anybody else at work who was kind of into this stuff. I would show it to people, and a lot of people were like, they're software guys, you know. But these two software guys were hardware guys, too. One of them had a lot of board design experience, and the other guy had a 3D printer. And he bought one of those ups, you know, off the shelf, print something, and it just works. But at any rate, I felt like, well, you know what? I've built so many kits now. I can build a 3D printer. I didn't know what I was getting into with this. This consumed probably the next 2 years of my life. I'm on my third one now. I started hanging out down at Metrics and got involved in a Kickstarter that somebody did for a Delta bot. You know, so I was part of an alpha build crew, and that was amazing and fantastic. But, you know, as I said, the 3D printer thing, I found out that I learned more from the guy at work and, you know, when I could make it to Metrics from people who were doing this than I could from, you know, online resources. This was so much harder. And I wanted to meet with people at work about this, you know, because I knew there were other people at work than this one guy with 3D printers. I knew there were more. And I wanted to have like a little meeting after work. And that's kind of where this comes in, the garage. So where I work, there's this notion of the garage, which is the idea of side projects, endorsing side projects. Go and capture that spirit of the garage and pursue that thing that somebody's not asking you to build, and see what you can do with it. And so there's a little bit of and really the spirit of the garage is summed up in one of our slogans, which is do epic shit. And we mean it. We really mean it, And I hadn't really been involved with the garage, though. The garage, there's a lot of initiatives around software, and it's not a big thing. There's not really that many people involved with running it. It's mainly volunteers. And it brings a little bit of organization to doing things like science fairs. And so this is a group of people after one of the science fairs, or some of our Golden Volcano Award winners. So they organize things like hackathons where you take some paid time and learn a new technology and spend 2 or 3 days on it. They do things like these science fairs I'm mentioning where you really go in and you show off your side project. And you get to show it to like some important people with titles. And those people with titles get to actually, pick a winner. And the prize might be just some time with some executives, to actually pitch your idea, to maybe make it into a product, maybe to start a new, larger scale project that you couldn't have done just in your side time, right? But the community also picks a winner, and that's what the Golden Volcano is. The community picks a winner. And so you actually even set up with little trifolds and everything, But the garage, they actually even have a volcano. This is set off at the end of our science fairs by the Golden Volcano Award winner. We kind of got in trouble for this. They kind of won't let us use that anymore. It was actually Kinect controlled so that you could actually raise your arms and it would ignite like that. And if you swooped them up, fireballs would shoot out because they took a gas inlet valve off of a propane tank and drilled out the safety feature, and put their own valve on there. We can't use this anymore. But so at any rate, like I said, it's a group of volunteers largely. And the idea is that you organize into these chapters. And the chapters are organized around things like maybe a specific technology area. Sometimes a business group might actually have a garage chapter. Sometimes it's by location, because we're a large company, so we have many locations in different places. And so, in one particular location that might not be very large, we're going to get together after work and do this stuff. But still, it was all software related. And, it didn't really resonate that much to me with what I was doing in my side time. But they had a picture on their website of this lab. And this, because it's not the only physical instantiation it has is a large conference room with open seating. And, it's bookable for things like Stay Late and Code and, things like that. And some of these science fairs it's used for. But they had a picture, and across from that room, there was another room, a lab. And that lab had a laser cutter in it. And I wanted to use that laser cutter. But I could find no instructions on there about how to actually get access to that laser cutter. And so I started thinking about it, and I started thinking about my desire to actually, meet with people after work about 3D printers. And I thought, that's too narrow. We should do a maker. We should do something for all makers, for everything. And I wrote kind of a ranty email. And I sent it to the guy that ran Stay Late and Code because I didn't really know anybody over there, and I copied some email alias. And the guy who was the community manager for the garage replied back in about 5 minutes and said, "It sounds like you want to start a chapter." I said, crap. But we decided to do it. And about a week later, we had our first meeting. And, so how do you do this? What did we do? And how could you do this, when you go back to where you work? All you need is people. That's really all you need. The first meeting we had, we just kind of sent out an inquiry to, a couple of different email discussion lists we had, and just found people. Some people we knew and invited, but we just got a group of people together and we talked. And we talked about what they build, what they want to build, and just started to go from there. Because, you don't need people with rare skills. They'll show up, and they won't really admit to you that they have rare skills. People are very humble, A lot of people know a lot of things, but they don't recognize how much they know in comparison to other people. But when you get together, you start learning from each other. And so the main reason to get together is to share. And you need to enable that sharing by talking about each other's projects and just kind of do round robin discussions and show and tell and things like that. Because it really gives people a reason to get together and want to come together and talk. And tools are nice. It's nice to get together and share tools, but you don't need it at first. You really don't need it at first. Because tools come with a heavy price of space. You need a place to put them. And that can be hard. And, the thing is that it's really easy to do this. I mean, at a company, you have space. You have space. If you want to start your own hackerspace, you have to go sign a lease. You've got conference rooms. Go use them after work. Nobody's using them. They're empty. Unless there's something bad going on. And then you probably shouldn't be there. But, keep the organization of it simple. Because the thing is, you do have a job, and you don't want to overcomplicate this. So just keep it simple. We just called ours Stay Late and Build, where we would just get together to build things. But you also want to establish an open communication channel with the people that are in your group, be it an email alias or what have you, whatever works where you work, however people talk to each other, establish that channel dedicated to this so that you can keep in touch between meetings and keep that going, so that people want to be there. And as we grew, people started to bring more stuff, and, this is just that open space conference room. That's all that is, and people just showed up with some of their tools, some of their projects, and just sat down and started doing. So you don't need a makerspace. It's nice to have funding. If you can get funding, get some funding. If you can find somebody who's got a PR budget or some morale budget, grab it. Grab what you can. Use it. The first thing you should use it for is food. Feed these people. They will show up if you have pizza. Make sure you order vegetarian and meat. Keep everybody happy. But you gotta keep it. It's very nice. It's very nice to have a makerspace to keep your things in. It's very nice. So if you can get that, you should get it. But you want to keep it moving. You want to meet regularly. You don't want to disappoint people. Don't promise a meeting and not show up. That's really important. You want people to show up and feel satisfied and feel like that it was a positive experience. And if you schedule something and you're not there or something falls through, you need to make sure that somebody can cover it, because there's nothing that can make something like this fall apart quicker than to disappoint people who are showing up in their spare time. And you've got to make sure that you communicate, get email reminders out to people to show up on the day of, so that people, oh, that is today. Do it on a regular day. Tuesdays are great. Thursdays are great. But a regular day on a regular schedule. Don't do the first and third of the month or something like that. It's too complicated. Is this the first week of the month? Is this the third week of the month for Thursday? I'm not sure. It varies sometimes. So keep it simple. Follow up. Definitely send follow-up messages to people with pictures. People like pictures. When you include pictures in your follow-up emails about what happened, when you send pictures out like this, people go, oh, I wish I was there. I wanted to do that. And that helps grow your community and starts getting it, bigger. And, I mentioned it's hard to get out to some of these hackerspaces sometimes. Do it, especially if you're trying to organize something like this. Go to those hackerspaces. Meet the people that run them, because they are your support lifeline and commiserators. They will understand that somebody drilled through your fancy soldering workbench. Really, that happened. So, our first year, I didn't take a lot of pictures. We started meeting. I mentioned, the first one we just got together to talk. We had that borrowed space in the conference center. There was that lab I mentioned that had the laser cutter. We got in. We got in there. We got access to it. And we started training people on how to use the laser cutter and started seeing what people would do with it, right? We organized talks. We got speakers in on specific subjects as a draw to kind of give people a reason to be there. We did find somebody who could order pizza, so we did have food. But, we made a lot of mistakes that first year. I wasn't particularly good about follow-up emails. I didn't send a lot of pictures, obviously. We tried to be too accommodating. And that's kind of something you have to watch out for. Don't be too accommodating. You can't satisfy everyone. And that was, we had a situation once where I mentioned not to disappoint people. We disappointed people by, someone else was going to run a meeting. We were going to run another meeting. On another day, we tried to grow too quickly is really what it boiled down to. Because not everybody could make the day that we picked, so we decided to do another day. But the other people that wanted to do that other day couldn't, it was like a nice thing to do. It wasn't like I must do this. No, if you're going to do it, you must do it. Because then people show up and they're disappointed because nobody's there. Don't do that. Because it can really hurt, what you're trying to do. The other thing we did that was bad was actually the laser cutter training. We put a tax on our core members. Because what we did was we tried to be fair. We set up a sign-up sheet. And so we had a first in, first out sign-up sheet, where people would sign up online to get laser cutter training, and we'd schedule them in a 15-minute slot. And it turned into just laser cutter training night for some of our core team members, who were some of the people you really wanted there, who had the most ideas, who could do the most stuff. And instead, they're sitting there training people on the laser cutter all night, which is great, but many of those people didn't come back. That's not so great. So in our second year, we got a shelf. We actually got in that lab, and we got our own shelf to keep some of our stuff. So now we could have some of our own stuff. And we got some money. And with that money, we bought a nice little 3D printer, a couple of them. We bought some nice soldering irons. We bought an oscilloscope and a function generator. And, the thing about those tools is the 3D printer, of course, yeah, they're cool. Everybody wants one. But the oscilloscope, that's important because it's a tool you might not want to buy. It's a tool that is really helpful, but a lot of people don't want to dedicate that much money towards a tool. So it's a very good thing to have once you can actually keep things and, have them in your space. And those soldering irons are also interesting because most people can afford to buy that soldering iron, but they're not necessarily ready to make that commitment. Can it really be that much better than the $10 Radio Shack iron? Yes. Get it? Show them. So we kept getting more projects. More people kept showing up. We started to get bigger, especially as we started to get better about follow-up and seeing those pictures. And we started to see amazing stuff like this. That's a Gershon. And that's his scaled-down model of a KUKA robotic arm. That thing is amazing. It moves around. It's Kinect-controlled. And if anybody wants to know more about that, just come talk to me afterwards because that thing is just really, really cool. It's full of servos, really expensive servos. He was actually worried because the team he works on does some robotic stuff, and they had some people from KUKA that were going to come out, and they were worried what the people from KUKA would think when they saw that. And the answer was they wanted one. But, we kept getting, a little bit bigger. We stopped doing the laser training with the sign-up sheet. We threw the sign-up sheet out the window. And what we said was, show up with your files that you want to cut, and we'll teach you how to cut them. And we never had to turn anybody away. And the people that showed up with files to cut came back. Sometimes people were just curious to get trained and they wouldn't come back. You want the people that'll come back. If they have a project that they want to realize and they're motivated for it, they don't have to have designed it. It could have just been something they wanted that they found on Thingiverse or somewhere else. But then, they get a taste of that project and they want more. They're participants. We also we got some quadcopter people in, and that was really started to drive a lot of interest because you'd come to this meeting and you'd see all these quadcopters flying around our meeting room. And as you saw, that's awesome, especially when there's more than one. But we kind of started to build up a core group of people that were coming through so we could do more, and we started to do kind of bigger projects. That's a 1 meter 3D printer. It worked. We got filament out of it. We never really got a significantly large thing out of it. But I'm telling you, just the effort of having a group of people working on something like that, and we were able to grab a corner of the room and just kind of keep it there for a while. But that was I think that really captured people's imagination and started to bring more people in who wanted to, because it's like, what are you doing? you can't do that. Maybe. I still think we could. We spent some more time on it. But the other thing we did, I mentioned that volcano. I'm going to kind of go through this kind of quickly. But we had to get rid of that volcano. We wanted another volcano. And it would be kind of cool if we made that other volcano out of metal. So we found some morale money and decided to go to a place to try and make a metal volcano. We went down to a place called Hazard Factory. And if you're wondering how you can get a large corporation to spend money at a place called Hazard Factory. But so we got together, and it was kind of amazing. We learned how to use a bunch of metalworking tools and a plasma cutter. I mean, a plasma cutter. That was amazing. We got to do some welding, and you can see this starting to take shape. And so what we wound up doing was building this metal volcano that has leaves on it so that the whole thing folds open. So now once we have our winters, the volcano is actually articulated such that it opens, and we can always have something else inside of the volcano. Lasers, balloons, fog machines. So at any rate, I don't really have any pictures of that. It's actually still kind of a work in progress. We're continually changing the mechanism. But that's fun, and it's great. But so we finally kind of went outside because what wound up happening was Seattle Mini Maker Faire came to town, and one of our business groups, Connect, had a booth. And they came to the garage, and they wanted to show garage projects. And so what we showed were projects like this table. You kind of can't see it here, but this is a Connect that's mounted above a regular LCD television. If you remember, we had an earlier Surface before the tablet, which was like a large coffee table size thing. We had a developer toolkit and all these crazy applications for it. Well, this guy actually modified that developer toolkit to work with the Connect. And he pointed it down at a TV screen and got it to work. And he's showing that off. And we actually even open sourced that and posted it up on CodePlex so that other people could play with it. The other guy over there, Rob Jellinghouse, he set up a beatboxer, a Connect beatboxer. So he's sitting back here, and you can't see in his other hand, but he's got a Wiimote so that he can make sounds and beatbox and assign them positions on the screen and actually move things around. And I believe he's got the code for that posted somewhere. And then we sat around and we scanned people with the Connect and printed out their heads, which was pretty great. So the thing I really liked about this, though, was we didn't have any Microsoft signage on this booth. As you can see, there's nothing there that says Microsoft. And so we'd be standing there and just talking about what we were making and what we were doing. And we'd be talking to people, and after about 2 or 3 minutes, maybe 5, they'd look at us, wait a minute. They'd look at the computers we were using, and are you Microsoft? Like, yeah. And it was this nice way to even just talk to people. So, I mean, you never know how this sort of stuff can reverberate. It can reverberate in ways in your company that are beneficial to your products. It can be beneficial to just how you do things. It can be beneficial from a morale perspective. But we kind of, through this and the rest of what I was talking about, we just kept growing. And we got our own makerspace this year. We got a makerspace in the library. We have a library. And we took an old computer lab in the library. Computer lab? They had a computer lab. And we took that computer lab and we made it a makerspace. And we got our own laser cutter, a nice new laser cutter. We've got soldering workbenches, one with a drill hole in it, now anyway. We've got more 3D printers in there. And this space, on a regular night, that room's normally filled with about 30 people, and out in the library there's normally another 10 to 15. So I mean, it's really, really fantastic. And actually, I might have, if I've got connectivity, a little video about this. No, and it's not even showing. All right, I'm going to skip the video. I'll just send out a link to that. But we've got a little video that actually shows you our science fair and shows you what it was like, and actually talks to some of the participants so that you can hear directly from them, what it meant to them and what it was like. And I can't remember if the volcano's on there or not, but at any rate, let's see. Let's come back to this. So I mentioned, I work at Microsoft, and Microsoft has a lot of things going on all the time. Recently, we had a big product launch for the Xbox. Those guys are kind of known for throwing parties, but you know, you have to be on that team to be part of the party. Some of our quadcopter guys said, they're doing fireworks. Wouldn't it be cool? Wouldn't it be cool if we could actually film the fireworks at the Xbox party with a drone? And they did. There it is. They flew a drone up there and got video footage of it, and it was just amazing. And the thing was, it came together so quickly. It came together literally in a day. They had the idea the day before the party because there was a big company-wide announcement that said, "Don't go over there, there's fireworks." Didn't work. But so we found somebody who could actually get them access the same day and got them permission to be inside of the danger zone and fly their quadcopter in there and actually get some very nice video of it with a GoPro. Just fantastic, amazing. I mean, this is what happens when you do stuff like this at work. Amazing things can happen. Amazing things, because you never know, what you can put together. But so I guess really what I want you to know, especially people who are new at this, I was like you guys. It wasn't that many years ago that I also thought that, I was going to burn myself with a soldering iron. I hadn't done any of this stuff. I was a software guy. And then I slowly got into this. But when I started this Maker Garage, I had no idea how to do this. I wasn't even trying to do it. I was complaining because I wanted to get into the laser cutter. So you can do it. But just get people together. Get a regular after-work meeting going. All you need is people. That's all you need. And just a small place to get together. Make people want to be there. And make sure that you recognize their accomplishments. And opportunities are going to come from that. And you'll be able to seize them and grab them. I mean, that's how we wound up with that makerspace, was just, we started doing, and opportunities presented themselves out of that, and we were able to just take advantage of them and grab them. So, thank you.